In this video, I will take you through the best settings for your Sony TV. So if you recently bought a Sony TV or you just want to be able to get the best video quality, best sound quality, or overall best experience you can actually get from your Sony TV, then this video will take you through some of the settings you can actually change on the TV to optimize the TV for usage. Now, over here I have the Sony Bravia Google TV, but it doesn't matter the type of Sony TV you have, whether you have the Sony Bravia Android TV or the old Sony Bravia TV. By the end of this video, you should be able to optimize any Sony TV you have to get the best experience from your TV. Now, going into the video, first things first, you want to head over to the settings of your Sony TV. So whichever Sony TV you have, you want to go ahead and open up the settings of the TV. Now, from the settings, you want to head over to the display and sound settings, which is basically one of the most important settings menu we are going to be handling in today's video. Now, what you want to do at this point is to go ahead and select the picture settings over here, and then from here we have the picture mode. Now, for the picture mode, you want to make sure it is always set to standard, except you want to get like the best experience while watching movies on the TV or while playing games on the TV. So take for instance, if you're watching movies on the TV, then you want to make sure that for picture mode you want to go ahead and set it to cinema if you're watching a movie, or if you're playing a game, you want to go ahead and make sure it is set to game mode. Now, all of this picture mode actually helps to optimize the TV for gaming or for watching movies on the TV. So depending on your specific need, you can go ahead and select the picture mode you want. Now, once that is done, you want to scroll down to where you have the reset picture settings, and we are going to be leaving this option because we don't want to reset the picture mode. Now, you want to scroll down to auto picture mode. Now, this automatically changes the picture mode of your Sony TV depending on what the TV detects that you're doing at a particular time. So for instance, if you connect your gaming device to any of the HDMI ports on the TV, it automatically changes the picture mode to game. Or if you're watching a movie, it automatically changes the picture mode to movie. I will recommend that you go ahead and keep this to off so that you can manually go ahead and change the picture mode to whatever you want at any time on the TV. Now, scrolling down to the light sensor over here, I strongly recommend that you go ahead and turn this off, and what it does is that it automatically changes the brightness of the TV depending on the light sensor around the TV. So you always want to make sure that this is turned off so that it does not affect the brightness of the TV. Now, if you scroll down over here, we get to the brightness settings, and for here I will recommend that you go ahead and set the brightness of your Sony TV to max. So make sure you increase it from 30 to 40, which automatically pops up the picture on the TV. Now, scroll down to contrast over here, and for contrast you always want to make sure it is set to about 80. So scroll down and then just make it to be around 80 over here. Now, scroll down again until you get to gamma, and for gamma, once you increase the gamma, it automatically just increases the brightness of the TV a little bit more, which automatically increases the details on the TV. But if you do not like this, you can just make sure it is set to 0. And then for black level, you want to make sure it is set to 50. Now, scrolling down to the black adjust, now this automatically adjusts the black color of the TV depending on the environment of your house. So I strongly recommend that you actually leave this to low or just medium so that it does not automatically affect the changes we have made on the TV. The same thing goes for the contrast enhancement. You always want to make sure that it is set to medium or just low. Now, scrolling down to the color over here, once we open this, you can literally see we have the color, and for color you want to make sure that this is set to about 70 over here. And then for hue, you can go ahead and leave this to 0. Then color temperature, you want to make sure that this is set to neutral or warm or expert 1, depending on what feels good in your eye. Personally, I would recommend you leave it at expert 1 or expert 2. Now, scrolling down to the live color, you want to make sure that this is always set to medium or low as well. Now, for sharpness, you always want to make sure that this is set to 70. So just go ahead and keep it at 70. And then reality creation, this can be set to auto depending on the type of content you're watching. So if you're watching content that are old and the picture quality are not so good, you can go ahead and turn this on so that it automatically pops up the pictures and then make it possible for you to even watch those contents properly on your TV. And then the same thing goes for the random noise reduction as well. It also optimizes the noise of the content you're watching if it is a very poor video. The same thing as well goes for the digital noise reduction as well. Now if you scroll down to the motion over here, you want to make sure that this is just left as it is over here. You don't have to make any changes to this. And then if you scroll down to this film mode, you want to make sure that this is set to high. Now scrolling down to the advanced color adjustment, you want to make sure that everything over here is left as they are, because making changes to some of the settings over here can actually affect all of the picture settings we have made on the TV. Now scrolling down to the screen settings, over here we have the wide, which automatically allows you to change the aspect ratio of your Sony TV. So you can go ahead and select the wide mode and adjust it to wide zoom or normal, or you can actually just set it to full to automatically fill up the borders of the TV. But generally I would recommend you keep it at auto so that it automatically just sets the content you're watching to fill up the TV screen. Now coming out of these settings, if you go over to the sound settings over here, now for sound customization, you always want to make sure that surround sound is turned on. It actually helps to get the best sound quality from your Sony TV, so make sure that that is turned on. Now you want to leave every other thing exactly as they are over here. Go back to the previous option and then scroll down to where you have TV position, and if your Sony TV is actually mounted, you want to make sure that this is actually set to wall mount, or if it is on the table or just placed on any surface, then make sure it is actually set to tabletop stand. Now go back to the previous option, and over here you basically have the option to reset the sound settings of your Sony TV. Now go back to the previous option, and if you come over to audio output over here, basically here you can go ahead and choose the output of your Sony TV. So if you have like a HDMI device, digital audio cable connected to your TV, you can go ahead and set this to audio system. Over here we have the eARC mode, which automatically enables you to turn ARC or eARC on your Sony TV, and this is actually if you have like a sound bar or a speaker connected to your Sony TV using a HDMI cable. Now every other thing over here you can go ahead and leave it exactly as they are over here on my Sony TV. Now coming out of all of this display and sound settings, over here we have the network settings that allows you to connect your Sony TV to Wi-Fi networks or hotspots. So once you select this option, you can make sure that your Wi-Fi is actually turned on, and automatically once your Wi-Fi or your hotspot is available, your Sony TV should be able to allow you connect to your Wi-Fi. Over here you can log into your Sony TV using your Gmail. Here you just have privacy and location settings on the TV, and then most importantly, if you come over to the system settings, you can actually do a lot of things from here. For instance, you can go ahead and turn on closed captions on the TV under the accessibility option, and then most importantly, once you scroll down to where you have the sound over here, you always want to make sure that sound is not turned off. If not, it will automatically mute the sound that comes from your Sony TV. So always make sure that sound is actually turned on your Sony TV. And then one thing you also have to check on your Sony TV is to come over to the power and energy saving mode, and then you want to make sure that this energy saver over here is always turned off. So make sure that energy saver is actually turned off. So for power saving mode and auto power saving mode, you always want to make sure that they are turned off so that they do not automatically adjust the settings we have made on our Sony TV just for it to be able to consume less power on the TV. Now these are basically some of the most important settings you should actually take note on any Sony TV you have. If this video was able to help you get the best video quality, audio quality and overall picture quality on your Sony TV, please make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more interesting tech tips like this one.